So the other thing that I am going to do is not only am I recording the presentation for anybody to watch, but I will post the slideshow that I'm going to go over. So you can certainly take notes. You can certainly, take a screenshot on your computer if you see something that you want to hold on to. Take a picture with your phone, whatever. But I am going to post it so that you can go back to it and take a look. I'll put it right on the counseling website Friday morning, hopefully Friday morning, but certainly sometime on Friday, so it'll be there. Again, for those that joined a little late, my name is Corey McGann. I'm the head of the counseling department at Ashland High School. This presentation that I'm about to share and start was put together by all four of the school counselors. The school counselors are Jennifer McMahon, Beverly Chase, Julie Hamilton, and myself. We put it together. We've gone through slide by slide to make sure the information is accurate and helpful. That's the whole point of this, to really help seniors and their families navigate something that can be challenging and can be a little anxiety provoking, but something that we do year after year, and we consider ourselves experts on this. We track things closely, and we just have a lot of expertise in doing it year over year, and that can be especially helpful for families that are doing it for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start the presentation. So again, welcome to College Knowledge Night for seniors and families. I did have some of my seniors ask me, is this the same thing we did last year? And just make sure everybody's muting themselves, please. That would be great. Make sure you are muted on the thing. When we do Q&A, you can take yourself off mute to ask questions if you want, or use the chat. But we did have a presentation, College Knowledge Night for juniors and families. The difference between the junior year and senior year is, for the most part, junior year is research. You're looking into options and opportunities. Senior year is actually, you've done, for the most part, the research. You might be still doing some college searching and finishing up your research, but really it's putting that research into action, moving forward on what you want to do, where you want to apply, where you want to go. So that's the biggest difference between those two presentations. So here are the topics that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about SAT and ACT score reporting. We're going to talk about college application process, the common application, teacher recommendations, scholarships, and financial aid. So let's talk about admissions tests first. There are two. There are SATs and ACTs. And colleges, if they require them, do not care between SATs and ACTs. Both are fine. They treat them both equally. The biggest difference between the two is regional. East Coast and West Coast kids generally lean towards the SATs. Kids in the Midwest default to taking the ACTs, but colleges will accept one or the other. Before COVID, most colleges required SATs and ACTs, but more and more every year went SAT and ACT optional. And every time a school went optional, they never went back. Every time we'd have, every year more and more colleges would announce that they've gone optional, and they never went back to requiring them. When COVID hit, most of the colleges, almost all of the colleges, went optional because it was so challenging to find a place to take the test and get to the test. Many of those colleges, most of those colleges, have remained optional. And my prediction, for those of you who have younger siblings besides your senior in high school, my prediction is they won't go back. I think most schools will remain being optional. There's a few reasons for that, and if anybody wants to talk to me about that, I can certainly give you my my rationale for that. There is a master list on fairtest.org. It's fairly accurate, but if you really want to know whether or not your college is test optional or not, you can find it right on the website. I have not come across a single college yet that has specifically requiring the SATs or the ACTs. So my rule of thumb is, if you can take this SAT or ACT safely and easily, do so. If you get your scores and they are very strong, send them. The scores, if they're good, they will help you. The colleges are reporting that if you don't send the scores, they're not going to hold it against you. They are optional. And the college admissions officers that we're speaking with, they are adamant about that. Now, I do want to talk to, for those of you who choose to send your scores, I want to talk about super scoring versus score choice. You'll sometimes hear those phrases and they sound kind of similar, but I want to make sure I explain those two things. Super scoring is when you say, let's say you take the SAT or the ACT twice. If you send both of those sets of scores, colleges on their end are going to super score it. They're going to take the highest section of each time you took it. So if the first time you took it, your ELA score was really high, but your math score wasn't, and then the next time you took it, your math score went up, but your ELA actually went down, they will super score it. They're going to take the highest section of each test, even though you took it at different times. That's what super scoring is. Colleges do it on their end, and most colleges do it. Okay. Score choice is different. Score choice is if you took it a second time and you scored higher both times, both on the ELA and the math, on both sections, you can then choose to implement score choice and just send that one score. Okay, so that's the difference between super scoring and score choice. The super competitive schools, the really challenging schools to get into, they will require you to send both scores if they require them. But again, almost every single school has gone SAT optional. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is self-reporting versus having your score sent. Most colleges, I shouldn't say most, many colleges are going to what's known as self-reporting, which means they're saying to kids, you can just tell us what your SAT scores are. You can just tell us what your ACT scores are. You put it right on the application. If you get accepted by the college, and if you decide to go to that one college, then you have to have your official scores sent directly from the testing agency to the college. It's a brilliant move by colleges. Kids a few years ago, they would have to pay College Board or pay the ACT for every score they sent. They'd get you still get 4 free ones, but after that, it's you know. The last time I checked, it was $12 per score. It might have gone up. But they've eliminated that need. You don't have to send them right away for many schools. Now you got to check the college's admissions page to make sure that they don't require you to send it directly from the agency when you apply. So you've got to check that. But if they're self-reporting, you can just put it on your application, save yourself a little bit of money. And then if you decide to go to that college, then they're going to require the official report. But I do like colleges are doing it, and I think more and more colleges are going to move to that. The next bullet there is check individual college websites for the testing requirements. If you want to know for absolute certainty whether your college requires it or not, whether they allow self-reporting, you can find that information on each college's admissions page. It's right on the admissions page on the college's website. Okay. So the first step for students is we want you to update your colleges I'm applying to list in Naviance. Okay. Many students are still doing some college research. You might know, yes, I'm definitely applying to this school, that school, this other school. But as you start to finalize your list, you're going to want to make sure that you put those schools in your college I'm applying to list. But there's lots of ways that you can do research right now. At the very end of this presentation, I'm going to show you some information on some college fairs, both virtual and in person, that you can take advantage of. Many colleges are doing open houses. I had a student in my office today. We literally jumped onto the website, the admissions page of the college that she was interested in, and a pop-up showed up right away telling us that there's a open house coming up in early October. So they're doing college tours, they're doing information sessions. A lot of programming is in person. Some programming is still virtual. So there's still ways for you to continue to do research, looking into schools that you want to add to your list. If you're stuck, go see your counselor. We can absolutely help you identify colleges that would be a good fit. Make sure that when you're building your college I'm applying to list, to have some balance in your applications. There's 3 tiers that we talk about all the time: reach, target, and safety. Okay. Reach schools are schools that are going to be a little bit tougher to get into. When you look at the scattergrams in Naviance, when you do your research into, what percentage of students they accept, what their average SATs and GPAs are, that you're looking at your information and saying, all right, that school is going to be a little bit tougher for me. I generally like students having at least one reach school on their list. I don't like it when students are afraid to put reach schools on their list. I don't super like it when students reject themselves. If anybody's going to reject you, let the college do it, because you never know. You have to go into it with a good attitude. You have to know, okay, this is going to be a tough one. I might not get accepted here. But I'd rather have that than not applying at all, because you never know. You might have something on your application that is really interesting and unique to college admissions officers, and it might be the thing that gets you in. So I would encourage students to have a school on your list that's reach, at least one, if not a few. Target schools are colleges that you've done your research, you've talked to your counselor, and yep, these are good fits. You feel confident that you're going to be able to be a good candidate for. They're not a reach school. They're not a safety school either. We'll talk about that in a second, but they're right on target. And you feel like, all right, yeah, I think I'm going to be in good shape with that school. And then we strongly recommend every student have at least one safety school. A safety school is a school that, looking at all the data that's available to you, you feel confident that is a school that you're going to get into. It's important to have a safety school on your list that you actually really like, that you feel like, yeah, if I ended up going to my safety school, I would love it. It's got my major. I looked at the campus. It seems really nice. It's got everything that I'm looking for. And when I look at, their average applicant, I'm ahead of the game with that. So make sure that, it's nice to have a little bit of all 3 categories: reach, target, and safety. It's important also to have some balance with public schools or private schools. We do recommend that students at least look into making sure that you have at least one public school on your list. Public schools, in-state Massachusetts public schools, are going to be lower tuition for private schools. Now, sometimes private schools can give more in financial aid and scholarships and things like that. They can give you more money to sort of equal the playing field a little bit, but maybe not as much financial aid or scholarships as you were hoping for. So it's important to at least look into having an in-state public school, because the way I look at it is it's like having a financial safety school on your list, a school that, going into it, that they have a lower tuition rate. In junior seminars, we talk to students about how to find the costs of schools and what that looks like, just the flat rate before any financial aid and scholarships and things like that. So it's important to have a little bit of balance there. We have students apply to a full range of numbers of schools, from one college to many. On average, students apply to about 4 to 8 colleges. 6 is my favorite. If you did 2 reaches, 2 targets, 2 safeties, that'd be pretty good, or 1 reach. 1 reach, 4 targets, and 1 safety, that's pretty good. But it's totally up to you. It's such a personal preference. I just remind students, remember, you can only go to 1. Large numbers of applications can sometimes be daunting for students. Typically, when I see students apply to like a huge amount of colleges, it's out of one of 2 reasons. Either they didn't do their research junior year or the beginning of senior year, or they're just anxious and they're just applying to a lot of colleges. So you can always talk to your counselor if you're having trouble narrowing down your list. But just keep in mind, applications are expensive. They can range from anywhere from $50 to $75. Lots of schools do give out free applications, so that's great. You can certainly take advantage of it, but do that if it's a school that you're interested in. So here's what's in a completed application. Here's what generally each college is going to require. And again, if you want details on what your favorite college specifically requires, they're going to have that right in the admissions page of your college. You can go to the college's website, go to the admissions page, and they are going to break down for you how to apply to their school. Okay. First, you need the application. You apply online. Many schools are on what's known as the Common App. The Common App is a single application that you're able to fill out and send to multiple schools. Now, it's one application, so you only have to fill out one application. Each school might have some like short answer essays and questions that you have to answer specific to their school. But for the most part, you're filling out just one application and sending it to multiple schools. Most students will have a list of all Common App schools. Every year, I will have some students that have colleges that they're applying to that are not on the Common App. So they have to fill out a separate application that's specific to that college. They pretty much ask the same exact questions, but you will have to do two separate applications or three separate applications. I did have one senior, this was about 6 years ago. She applied to 7 colleges. None of them were on the Common App. It was all schools down south, and she had to fill out 7 applications. So it was daunting, but it was pretty much all the same stuff which she discovered. You have to write an essay and answer some supplemental questions. Students will have to write one essay that you can send to all the different colleges, and it's an essay that a lot of times you can customize to use for scholarships too. So you don't have to write multiple essays. You write one really good one, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about the college essay. But you write one very good essay, get it polished, and that's an essay that you can send to all of your colleges. And then each college may have, most likely has supplemental questions. These are short answer, usually like a paragraph, maybe a little shorter. Just make sure that you're keeping them polished as well. You want to stay focused on those two. One of the things that you send is the transcript. That's something that your school counselor will send. And it has all of the information of how you did in high school on it. I'm going to talk about the transcripts a little later. Again, SAT or ACT scores, they are most likely optional at colleges, but certainly you can have them sent, or you can self-report them if they allow that. Most schools require letters of recommendation. Okay. Most, again, I'm going to say most, you're going to have to look at each college and their admissions page to see exactly what they require. But most schools require 2. Usually it's 1 academic teacher and your school counselor, your guidance counselor. Some more competitive colleges require 3. And usually in that case, it's 2 academic teachers and your counselor. Some schools require only 1, and it could be either your teacher or your counselor. And then there's a few schools that don't require any letters of recommendation. You can certainly send letters of recommendation even if they don't require it, if you feel like it's going to help your application. You should never, there's no reason to send, unless there's a special circumstance, there's no reason to send more than 3. So 3 should be the maximum number of people that you're sending letters of recommendation to. And then additional information. If there's any additional information that you want the colleges to be aware of, and you couldn't fit it into your essay, you couldn't fit it into your application, you can certainly send a message, a nice letter, an email, and ask them to add it to your application. Okay. Each college has a minimum requirement of what's required, such as the transcripts and letters of recommendation, but you can absolutely send them some additional information if it's pertinent to your application. Don't inundate them with stuff. Don't start sending them an email every week, with an update on your grades and IPASS. Don't do that. You don't want to inundate them with information. But certainly, if there's something that you feel is important to share, you can absolutely share it with the college. So if you're applying via the Common application, you can review the essay prompts ahead of time. We did this in junior seminar, but you can Google search Common application essay prompts or essay topics. It'll come right up for you. There's about 7, and the last one is topic of your choice. so you can really write anything. If you're stuck, if you're stuck getting a topic, it can be helpful to talk to someone. Go see your school counselor. We can absolutely brainstorm a topic. Sometimes just having a conversation about it can help tease out what would be a good topic for you to write. And then outline it out, like do a rough sketch of like, okay, the first paragraph, I'm going to say this, second paragraph, I'm going to say this, or even you don't have to say paragraphs. You can just say, first I want to touch on this, and then I'm going to start to get to this. And then my conclusion, I'm going to talk about this, and then start writing. And you're going to want to do multiple drafts just to make sure that it's polished. What seniors discover fairly quickly and are kind of surprised by is that the college essay is short. It is much shorter than they anticipate. Going into it, seniors think that it's going to be 3 or 4 pages. It's not. It's like a page and like a quarter, not even. I believe the word count is 650 words. You've got to think about quality over quantity. They don't want you to go on and on. They want you to be short and to the point. They want to make sure that your sentences aren't running on and on, but you are able to write clearly and with clarity. So that's why, having it, read by yourself, by your counselor, by a teacher can be really helpful. And then take this short essay seriously. Make sure you give yourself time to write those. You don't want to rush through those. You don't want to have this glorious essay and then the short answers you didn't give as much, you gave short shrift to. So just make sure that you're taking the essays seriously because they can be helpful, especially since those essays, those supplemental essays, are usually specific to the college. So it's really a good way for a student to let the college know how much they like that college and why they feel it's such a good fit for them. So the forms that you need for recommendations were shared with you in your college forms folder. I put everything into a college forms folder and I shared it in your Google Drive. So students, if you search for the words college forms, it'll come up in your Google Drive. Or your counselor did put it in the Google Classroom they created for senior seminars. Parents, all of our seniors have started senior seminars. And so we created Google Classrooms for the students so that we could populate it with information that they need. And the forms for the recommendations are right in there. Okay. And again, teacher recommendations, usually 1 or 2 teachers' recommendations are required. But again, check once you know what schools you're applying to, go to their admissions page and you can read and double check to make sure that you have everything that they need. And then we do like students asking their teachers in person, politely, but in person. And then once they say yes, fill out the form and make sure you give it to them. Give teachers and counselors plenty of time to write their letters. We recommend at least 2 weeks notice, but I would do it with much more notice than that. I'm telling my seniors that if they're applying early, and I'll talk about deadlines in a minute, they should be getting me their materials now. They should be working on them this weekend and be able to get them to me next week. So that way we have plenty of time to start our letters and get them written. Same thing, council recommendations, just talk about it. It's a different form that's in there. And there's also a parent response form for parents that want to respond for the form for the council recommendation letter. It's optional, but it can certainly be helpful for us as we write our letter. It's important, students, to note that you will not assign recommenders through the Common application. If you go into Common App, you'll notice that they give you an option of assigning recommenders through Common App. We ask that you not do this. We send our recommendations through Naviance. So there's nothing you need to do through Common App. All you need to do is let your teacher know that you'd like to write a recommendation, get them the form they need. They're going to upload your recommendation right into Naviance, and your counselor will send that recommendation along with the transcript to the colleges once you apply. So one thing that you do need to do, this is really important, When you are applying to a college or just before you're about to apply to the college, you're going to want to fill out what's known as the transcript request form. It's in that Google Forms folder right alongside the teacher recommendation forms. Okay. This is what actually triggers counselors to send your transcript, the letters of recommendation, the school profile, everything that the high school sends. Okay. You can't see me in the hallway and say, hey, Mr. McGann, I applied to such and such, send my stuff. No, that's not how it works. You've got to fill out the transcript request form right on Google Forms. It allows you up to 8 colleges to fill out on the form, although you don't have to fill out 8. You can fill out, if you're only applying to 5, you can fill out 5 and then submit. If you are applying to more than 8, you just have to fill out more than 1 transcript request form. Okay. When you fill out the transcript request form, we send out the transcript immediately. Once the letters of recommendation are in and everything's ready to go, we'll send out the initial transcript immediately. Then if the initial transcript we sent was before term 1 grades come out, when term 1 grades come out, we'll automatically send to the colleges your updated term 1 grades. Usually seniors do really well in term 1 grades, so they definitely want us sending those grades as soon as they come out. We do it as soon as they're posted officially, and we get them out as quickly as we can, so that the colleges, when the new transcript comes in, they can dump the old one and replace it with the new one with the term 1 grades. We do the same thing when mid-year grades close. When term 2 is over and the mid-year grades post, we automatically send your mid-year grades to all the colleges you apply to. There's nothing you need to do on your end. And then finally, we'll send your final transcript. After you graduate, we will send your final transcript to whichever college you have told us you are attending. So again, we take care of it. There's nothing you need to do on your end. Just filling out that transcript request form takes care of everything. The counselors will take care of all of that. But just make sure that you do it well in advance of your deadline. Please do not submit a transcript request form days before your deadline. 2 weeks before the due date is a really good time frame. So let's talk about application deadlines. There's been a lot of questions from seniors so far in my seminars about application deadlines. Again, for a specific college, check the college admissions website. It'll tell you the exact deadlines. But basically, there are 4 ways that you can apply to a college. And not every college will offer every different option, but these are the options that you're going to see amongst colleges. The first kind is called rolling admissions. Rolling admissions, usually colleges that are a little bit easier to get into will offer rolling admissions. That means there's no specific deadline. You can apply when you want, and as soon as they get a completed application, they'll review it and they'll let you know if you're in or not. It's great for students that want to beat back any nerves or anxiety. They get their application in, and then, several weeks later, maybe a month and a half later, they find out I've been accepted, or unfortunately, sometimes rejected. But it can be really helpful for students who want to find out right away. If they offer rolling admissions, they're not going to wait for a specific deadline date. And you can apply as late as you want. I had colleges last year emailing me after graduation announcing that, hey, we still have spots in our incoming fall class. Kids can still apply. So it potentially a student could apply to a college even after high school graduation. I will tell you, though, for rolling admission schools, the earlier you apply, the better, because in September, they've got tons of spots available. October, November, December, January, February, March. As you go through the year, the spots start to dwindle. So this is especially helpful for students that want to get a spot and want to get their application in. It can be really helpful. Regular admissions is a specific set deadline. Students are usually notified by April 1st. Typical regular decision deadlines are like January 1st, February 1st, March 1st even. These are just a traditional admissions date. Now, for those students who want to apply early, there are 2 options: early action and early decision. Most of our seniors do apply early action. And I'd like to think it's because we start junior seminars so early students, if you remember, we started junior seminars back in like Thanksgiving of last year. Unfortunately, we're doing it remotely, but we did it. I'm much more preferring my senior seminars, which are in person. One of my seniors, when she walked in, was like, "This is so much better doing this in person," and I totally agree. We start the seminars early junior year. We start them very early senior year for this very reason, to give you guys, all of you students, a chance at applying early if you want. And early action is great. It's non-binding. Early deadlines, typically November 1st, sometimes November 15th. I have heard of a student or two, not in my caseload, but that has had October 15th early deadline dates. That's rare. And also, I hate it. I wish colleges wouldn't do that. I think November 1st is early enough. But you do get to find out early, typically around December, early action candidates find out. And I do think it's better. The only downside to early action is I tell students, don't apply early if the application isn't done and perfect. Wait, get it set the way you want. And then if you have to apply regular admissions, do that. You only get one chance at the first impression. So if I feel like a student's rushing to get it done, it's not a good thing. But if you make progress and you continue to make progress and you feel like everything's polished and ready to go for your early action deadline, I think it's a good thing. Now, early decision is different. Early decision, not many colleges offer early decision, and usually the ones that do are very competitive to get into. Early decision is binding, meaning if you get in, you have to go. Again, you get early notification. It's for colleges to help identify which students are very serious about their school. They know that most colleges students apply to 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 colleges. They're trying to understand, for that kid that's an excellent candidate and is going to get into lots of different colleges, which one do they really like, as opposed to just one that their counselor recommended or whatever. And so applying early can be good. The only for most of the time, it's really good to apply early. The only downside is if you feel like you're rushing and it's not polished, then I would advise students to take some time, get it right, and then submit regular. I sort of stepped all over this slide, but this is a breakdown of early action versus early decision. Early action's great. Again, I don't think there's any downside other than making sure everything's polished. Early decision, there is a benefit to early decision in that schools will tell you, it's especially those competitive schools that offer early decision, it is a little bit easier to get into their school early decision, because you're basically telling them, yeah, I'm taking your school very seriously. You are the one. So there is a little bit of an admissions boost with early decision. But the problem is you can't shop at the end of it. You can't shop around for, where you got scholarship money from. How much money did they give me in financial aid? You're basically committing to the school without knowing what that's going to look like for your other schools. And as it says in the slide, deadlines begin as early as October 15th. That's terrible. It should be November 1st. If I were running the universe, I would make every college change all their early deadlines to November 1st. But sadly, I'm not running the universe. So the school, I touched on this a little bit, school materials submission. This is what we send. The counselor submits the school materials, but only after you've submitted the transcript request form. That is the form that triggers us to send all this material. And we'll look through and make sure that the transcript is there, the school profile, teacher recommendations, counselor recommendations, and the Common App forms. If you're applying to a Common App school, we fill those out too. Something known as a FERPA waiver must be electronically signed on the Common App and confirmed on Naviance. FERPA waiver is, we're not allowed to send private information to a third party. So even though we know you want us to send your transcript to the college, I'm not allowed to send your transcript anywhere or show it to anyone. The FERPA waiver is you giving me permission to do that. You're specifically saying, Mr. McGann, or whoever your counselor is, you have my permission to send my transcript to these schools. And that way we know that you've given us the okay to do that, and you filled out the transcript request form, so we have it in writing, and we're able to move forward with that. You can check. Colleges offer you, once you've applied, they give you access to a college application portal so that you can check the processing of your materials and watch it in real time. I will tell you though, students, you got to be patient on this. So for some schools, they're getting tons and tons of material coming in. And it takes them time. It's not an automatic, like as soon as you hit submit, it electronically registers that you submitted your stuff. Someone goes through and checks everything and makes sure it's there, and then marks your portal that everything's accepted. Same thing with the materials that we send on our end. So depending on the size of their staff, depending on how many applications came in, depending on how many interns they have working for them, it can take time. So yes, it's tempting to hit refresh on your college application portal over and over again. You'll drive yourself a little nuts. So don't do that. Be patient, stay calm. You can follow up after a few weeks. If it hasn't changed or if it hasn't been updated, you can certainly reach out directly to the college admissions office. Just be aware that they're getting tons of phone calls and inquiries this time of year. So be nice. You don't want to be screaming, how come you didn't get my thing? Just be careful with that. This is a picture of Common App. They have made some updates, so it doesn't look exactly like this, but this is basically what the Common App looks like. You'll have a dashboard, a place to put in your colleges. Again, it'll only have colleges that accept the Common App, okay? Naviance, when you add your schools to the college I'm applying to, it's got every college. Every college is on Naviance. Colleges that have closed are still on Naviance. So every college that you're applying to will definitely be in Naviance and should be in your college I'm applying to list. But for Common App, they do have a My Colleges section. You can add colleges to your dashboard, and then you can start filling out the Common App as well as the supplementals. Here's a picture of what the recommenders and FERPA section. Again, it looks a little different. There's a picture from last year, but it looks very similar to this. And then you just got to fill out the FERPA. You won't find the FERPA until you've added a college first. So you got to make sure you add a college first. Once you do the FERPA for one college, it's going to be good for all of them. So you only have to do it once, no matter how many schools you're applying to. Naviance has also had an update. This is an outdated picture, but it looks similar to this. But essentially, this is the college I'm applying to section of Naviance. So make sure one of the first steps you're going to want to do is make sure that when you know you're applying to a college, it is in your Naviance account properly, because we're sending your transcript and letters of recommendation and all that stuff. We're doing it through Naviance. We're not doing it through the Common App. We don't have access to your Common App. But what Naviance does is it pairs with Common App so that when we hit send on our stuff, it'll pair together with your application so that the colleges get it all in one neat package. So let me talk a little bit about financial aid. And it's certainly important to focus on. Generally, I want students sort of thinking about the applications first, and then once all the apps are in and done and sent, and now that you're just waiting to hear from colleges, then you can shift your focus and your brain onto money, including scholarships and things like that. However, there is an application that all colleges accept when you're applying for financial aid. It's called the FAFSA. Free application for federal student aid. Free, by the way. There are websites that look legitimate, and they are legitimate, I suppose, but they sell the ability to help you fill out the FAFSA, but they charge a fee. You could certainly look into these, but I wouldn't. The FAFSA is free, and you can fill it out, and every college accepts it. Every single college, community college, four-year college, all colleges accept the FAFSA. And it's not available until October 1st. I did hear from a couple of seniors who were worried that the deadline for the FAFSA was October 1st. That's not accurate. You can't even get to it until October 1st. Once October 1st hits, it'll be available to you. And the website is right there, FAFSA.gov. Now, you don't have to do it that first night it's available. You don't have to. Certainly, submitting it early is strongly recommended. And many colleges have deadlines for not just admissions, but for financial aid, because they need to start, they have a limited amount of money and they need to start identifying, what families need what for financial aid. But I think as long as you submit it in October, early October, you're fine. So you don't have to do it the first night, but you should start going into that, early October to start filling it out. And again, it's free. I can't emphasize that it's free to apply for financial aid. Now, CSS profile is a little different. Some colleges require both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Okay. And that's an important distinction. Every college wants the FAFSA, all of them. Okay. If you're applying for financial aid, you have to submit the FAFSA. Some colleges will also require, in addition to the FAFSA, the CSS profile. Usually these are the private colleges. Usually these are the most expensive colleges. Okay. There is a fee with it. I think it's around $30. Or I think it's like $25 for the first one and then like $10 for each additional one. But you got to pay attention to, if you're applying to any schools that require the CSS profile, they'll have it on their admissions page, but you can also go to the College Board CSS profile website, and it'll give you a list of participating colleges. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. And then colleges will have information on their own financial aid websites with all kinds of information to help you navigate applying for financial aid to that particular school. But again, much like the Common App, you fill out one application, the FAFSA, and send it to all the schools. Okay. CSS profile, again, might be necessary if you're applying to a private school. So let's talk about scholarships. Okay. We get sent to the high school lots of local scholarships. Okay. As soon as we get them, we put them right into Naviance, and you can find them in your Naviance account under the scholarships page in the colleges tab. Okay. You can go there now if you want. You won't see many now. There might be some already posted, but if there are, they're very few. The prime time for local scholarships is January, February, March, April, late February, March, April. That's when we're getting a ton of them. Okay. So we definitely hammer home with seniors, second semester seniors. They've gotten their college acceptances, or maybe all their apps are in and they're just waiting. That's when the local scholarships really start to pour in. Okay. But you can still find scholarships that are available now. Certainly colleges themselves will offer scholarships. A lot of times you'll get a scholarship right with your financial aid package. You submit the FAFSA, and when they send you your letter back with your financial aid package, sometimes there's scholarship money right in that letter. Sometimes colleges offer you a scholarship right in your acceptance letter. You didn't apply for that specific scholarship, but they're giving you a scholarship right in your acceptance letter. That's to incentivize you to come to that school. They know you've applied to multiple schools. They're assuming you've gotten into several, and now they're trying to sweeten the pot and convince you to come to their school. That's another reason why, by the way, to have some safety schools on your list. Safety schools are the ones that will more likely send you merit-based scholarships, because you are above their typical applicant, and they're trying to incentivize you to come to their school. Your reach school, you might still get in, and they might say, all right, yeah, you can come. But they're not going to try to incentivize you with a merit-based scholarship, because you might not be quite as competitive as the other students that apply. And then I listed some private scholarship sites at the bottom. FastWeb is my favorite. CAPEX is very good, or CAPEX, I'm not sure how they pronounce it. And Going Merry, I've been hearing good things about. Going Merry is like a common app for scholarships, where you fill out one thing and it's able to send it to multiple scholarship sites. These three sites that I listed are free. You do not need to pay for scholarship sites. There are businesses, companies that will charge a fee and promise you all kinds of scholarships. You can certainly look into them. I'm not saying they're a scam, but there are plenty of ways to get free scholarships. But these are going to be the national scholarships, a little harder to get because they're open to everybody in the country. Certainly within FastWeb and CAPEX and even Going Merry, you can put in that you're a Massachusetts student, so they can send you Massachusetts specific scholarships, but the local ones will have fewer potential applicants. A lot of times they're only offered for Ashland residents or Ashland High School students. And those will be right in your Naviance. As soon as we get them in, we put them in. So seniors, it's a good practice to check that page once in a while, especially as we get into second semester. They'll come in fast and furious. One of my favorite resources, and a resource that not enough families take advantage of, is the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, or MEFA. MEFA is available to Massachusetts residents. It's free resource for how to navigate financial aid. They're great. They've got videos, they've got podcasts, they've got Q&As on there. MEFA.org. I cannot emphasize enough. If you really are lost in the financial aid process and want to learn more, MEFA.org, everything on there is free. They also have a helpline. Massachusetts residents can call them and ask them for their ask them questions and get assistance, and it's all free to Massachusetts taxpayers. It's a wonderful resource, and you should absolutely use it. I would also say that once you've gotten into a school and you've decided where you're going to go, once you've done that, this is usually later senior year, but your own chosen college's financial aid office is also a wonderful resource. Once they've decided they want you and you decided you want them, they are incentivized to help you make it happen. So, meeting with the financial aid representative or calling and making an appointment with a financial aid counselor at that college can really help you find out your options. So it's a good resource. Coming close to the end. So there, it's funny with students, I'm usually saying junior year is when you do college research over the summer, and then senior year, you're doing applications. But I know that there are seniors who are still looking for schools, still trying to figure out. I've got one or two seniors that are like starting from the beginning and just really don't know what to do. And all of that is fine. We will work with you to get you up to speed. Go see your counselor. My favorite conversation is when a kid comes in like, I'm lost. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's fine. I'd rather have you be honest with us and ask for that help. But there's lots of college fairs that are occurring where you can have conversations with lots of different schools. The national college fairs is the first link, virtualcollegefairs.org/conventions. This is all virtual. You're able to visit with a multitude of admissions counselors, ask questions, learn about schools. It's a great way to do it. I do prefer in person, which is great because NEACAC, I am pronouncing that correct, NEACAC, New England Association of College Admissions Counselors, I think it is. They are having in-person fall college fairs. The next one is coming up in a couple weeks. It's on a Sunday. I think it's, you're gonna have to check the site. I think it's the first Sunday in October. And it's at Worcester State University, I believe. And it's all local New England area, or Northeast, I should say, college and universities. Usually a little bit on the smaller side of colleges, but it can be a wonderful opportunity if a student is like, look, I'm still looking for schools. I don't know. I want to talk to some people that can help me navigate. And you can go to admissions college fairs. You'll see the pictures on the left. These are all pictures from fairs. This is pre-pandemic. Everybody will be wearing masks. I did want to give a shout out to a new initiative we have this year that we are super proud of. With XBlock happening, we are trying to take advantage of the time that we have for XBlock. And so we're offering two different things. The flyer on the left is about our career speaker series. All year, my intention is to have on Mondays, there's one that's a Wednesday, the October 6th, sports broadcasting. My speaker could only do it on Wednesday. But for all the others, we're having speakers. Most of them are young alumni, students that graduated from Ashland, between 2010 and 2012, 2013. They've been in their career for a few years. They're settled into it. But they also still remember what it was like to be an Ashland High School senior. And we're doing the same things that you guys were doing. They're talking about their careers, and this is an outstanding opportunity. If you see something that you're like, ooh, yeah, I definitely want to go into that. Or just, I don't know what I want to do, but that looks interesting and I want to hear more about it. And again, these are students that were just like you. For counselors like me, it seems like they graduated yesterday, but they haven't. They've been doing some things in between. The first one is on Monday, September 27th, talking about politics, international relations, and bioterrorism. This is a AHS graduate. She'll talk about the job that she just had, but she just took a brand new job working for Department of Defense in bioterrorism. And I think it's the coolest thing in the world. So she's not coming in person. She's going to be zooming in from Washington, D.C. to talk to students. But definitely what she's going to be talking about will be interesting. And just talking about her path from Ashland High School to college to what she's doing now, working in the public sector for the Department of Defense. The other one I'm really excited about is October 6th, sports broadcasting. I've got a lot of students that are at least interested in sports broadcasting. This is an alumna of ours who's interviewed a ton of athletes. I've seen her stuff. It's great. And she happens to have been in the cities. She's worked in 2 cities now that have won world titles in sports. So she's got a lot to talk about that experience. And the one October 25th, I'm really interested in clean energy and clean technology, especially for STEM students, engineers who are interested in potential working in the clean energy field, which I think is a really strong field. But you can sign up, students, you can sign up in your when you sign up for XBlock. You can just sign up. There's limited spots. It's counseling office is small-ish, so 20 spots. So make sure you jump on it if you want any of those. And then we're also having college reps come in. This is particularly good if you're still searching, not sure where you want to apply, or maybe you see your favorite school there and you would love to get some face time with an admissions counselor. It can be really helpful to put a face to a name. Obviously, UMass Amherst is going to fill up very quickly because we have a lot of kids that apply to UMass Amherst October 21st. And keep in mind, this is 9 days before, actually 14 days before their early action deadline. So an opportunity to maybe hear what they're looking for in their applicants. But there's also a lot of schools that maybe you haven't heard of. And maybe, this might be a school that would offer me something that would be interesting. So certainly sign up for those. The first one we have is September 28th. UConn is coming for a visit. Typically, those are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So before we get to the Q&A, this is the summary. If you were going to take a screenshot of one thing, this is the thing. You could print it out, put it on. I'm going to post the, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to post the presentation so that you can save it, print it, put a little check marks next to it. Narrow down your college list. Identify what schools you're actually applying to. Do your research, okay? Do your college searches online. Use Naviance. We went over that in junior seminars. Talk to your counselors. Talk with your family about the financial situation. Have frank conversations about that. Understand how much colleges cost. When we talked about finances in junior seminar, I mentioned to students, colleges cost a range of money. There are schools that are very low cost, still solid schools, very good schools, but lower cost. And then some schools that are very expensive. Know that going in and understand what the costs are associated with it. And visit college open houses and campus visits. If they're doing in person and you're feeling comfortable doing that, there is nothing more gorgeous on a fall Saturday morning, Sunday morning than a college campus. I'll also mention you get 2 excused absences from school for college visits. 2 apps. So if there's an open house on a weekday and you think it'll be really valuable for you to go, you can go. It's an excused absence. All you have to do is call the absent in that morning. And then the next day when you come back to school, bring in something from the school that tells you that you were there. Colleges give notes to kids all the time during the school week. This happens all the time. They'll give you a note. Register and take the SAT and the ACT. If you're able to do so safely and easily, still time to do that. I don't know what the spots are available for the October test, but certainly if you're applying regular decision, you can take the November, you can even take the December. Still plenty of time to do that. Start your essay questions now. You're going to want to give yourself time to polish it, work on it, leave it aside and come back to it, kind of chip away at it so that you're not writing it all in one night. Ask for teacher recommendations. I would start that process now. Get us started on what we need to do. And that way we're writing while you're doing your essay and your application. So you can have those conversations now. Fill out online applications. Most will be Common App. If your school is not on the Common App, their college application will be right on their website. Submit the SAT and the ACT scores to college if required. Many will allow you to self-report. And again, many will be optional. Financial aid forms starting in October 1st. You can file for financial aid at fafsa.ed.gov. You have to wait until October 1st, but once October 1st happens, you can submit that. And then scholarships. Once you get all your college stuff done and now you're just weighting. And I tell kids all the time, as Tom Petty said, the weighting is the hardest part. No kids get the reference, only parents do. But it is the weight. Once you get everything submitted, the weighting really is the worst part. But it's a good time to shift your focus to filling out as many scholarships as you can and seeing if you can get some money. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AHS Counseling Office, at Clocker Counsel. If you don't have social media, that's fine. Anything really important, I'm going to email out. I'm going to put in the morning announcements, but sometimes people like getting the social media and it's easier to do it that way. I'm gonna do it on time. Ooh, I went right to 7:59. That's pretty good. Questions. Hopefully this has been helpful. I saw a question. It says you're not able to open the transfer request form. That's right. Only seniors have access to that. Seniors should be filling it out. Tell your senior to go into their college forms and fill it out. But it's open to any Ashland high schools. I shared it with the seniors. Thank you for saying thank you. That's really nice. I get really anxious about this presentation, and all we want to do is help. All we really want to do is help. If somebody has a question, you can take yourself off mute or you can type it in. I'm happy to answer questions.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
So for the FAFSA, don't you need to know the college you're applying to?
No, you can fill that out. I mean, eventually, yeah, you're going to want to send it to, but you can fill out the FAFSA ahead of time. And then as soon as you know which colleges you want to, so what it's going to do is it's going to give you a login. You create a login and a password, right? So you can fill it out now. Well, starting October 1st, you can fill it out on October 1st. And then as soon as you add a college or you decide, oh, I want to apply to this school, you can go into FAFSA, have it sent to that college. So I might have a student that sends their FAFSA right in October to the 5 schools they know they're applying to. And then in January, they walk into my house, go, oh, I've decided I want to apply to this school too. I'm going to throw that in there. They can go right into their FAFSA and send it to that 6th school if they want.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm loving everybody's saying thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. We put all 4 of us put a lot of work into this presentation. Does the scholarship and financial is for 4 years? That's a great question. So some scholarships that you get will specifically say this is for 4 years, right? It'll be either right in the admissions letter, we're giving you the presidential scholarship and it's worth, the 4-year scholarship worth a total of $60,000, right? But some are only 1 year. The financial aid application that you fill out, you have to fill out every single year. And I know that there's some parents on this that have, they've got the older, the kids that have gone through this process. The FAFSA has to be reapplied for every single year. So it's not fun. The FAFSA is not, I had to do it for undergrad. I had to do it for grad school. It's the application is much more fun. The kids have the easier role, I would say. If they don't need SAT scores and they do well on the SAT, will their score help them? Yes. So, the thing I say to students all the time is colleges aren't looking for one reason to say no. They're looking for 10 reasons to say yes. Students' responsibility is to give them 15 reasons to say yes, right? So any bit of ammunition that we can send to colleges that will help justify and have them say, all right, this is good. So yeah, if a student can take the SAT and ACT and they do well and they look at their averages and they're above then send it. It's another bit of ammunition to say to the college, like another reason for them to say yes. But I love the fact that that colleges are going optional, because I have students who are unbelievable high school students and they're going to be unbelievable college students. They're great. I know they're going to do great. They're terrible at taking tests, especially things like, high stakes SATs and ACTs. And colleges know this too, and they want to accept those kids. So they're basically saying, don't send us those scores. If that's the weakest part of your application, your GPA is great, your involvement is great, your essays are great, your letter of recommendation is great, your SATs are terrible, don't send them to us. Send everything else that's great, if that makes sense. So I love that, because I know every year for years, I've had kids that I know they're going to be great. They work hard. They do their assignments. They go to class every single day. They ask questions. They'll go for extra help. They will run through a brick wall to make sure that they're learning the material and being successful. How they do on an SAT or ACT is irrelevant to me. I don't care. My seniors know how much I hate and despise the SAT. So sorry if anyone likes it, but I hate it.
Mr. McGann, when do we find out our MCAS scores and if we got the scholarship for the like UMass?
Good question. So senior year, the MCAS scores typically come out sometime in October. Typically is not a word I'm able to use a lot this year, so I don't know when that will be released. As far as Adams and the Koplik scholarship, and I'll explain what each one is in a second. It's all pending. As soon as I get information, I'm going to share it with everybody. As soon as I get information from the state, but they're scrambling to, figure stuff out. Generally, roughly in the past, the Adams scholarship is both the Adams and Koplik are available to students who are going to in-state public schools. Okay, so UMass Amherst, Mass Bay Community College, Framingham State, Salem State, Worcester State. There's 13 four-year colleges and then like 50 community colleges. And Adams Scholar is once you get it, you get it. There's nothing else you have to do. And it's the top 20% scores on MCAS. Okay, that's Adams. Koplik is different. You have to get a certain level on one subject, a certain level on two others. And then there's additional information that there's additional steps to getting the scholarship. Once I have that information, I'm going to communicate it to everybody. A few years ago, I recommended my daughter start stating that it's better to keep them blind as a student at application time. Does this benefit? Recommendations. Yeah. So yes, recommendations. One of the questions they're asked is, do you waive the right to see your recommendations? We recommend that students say, yes, I waive the right to see my recommendations. What you're saying to colleges is, nope, I'm not going to see this recommendation. Whatever my recommender said is good with me and is 100% accurate. If you've asked the right person, they're going to write glowing things about you. So you're basically telling the college, like, nope, I don't need to see it. Whatever they said is 100% truth. And then the recommender writes, this student was unbelievably great in my class, despite really difficult situation last year. They always, they were always in my Zoom class. They participated. They worked the extra mile. They always came in for extra help. Whatever the teacher is going to say regarding it. So yes, I have some of my counselees here. I never show I write unbelievably wonderful things about my counselees. I never show anyone my letters of recommendation. Same with the other counselors. The other counselors write wonderful recommendation letters. We won't show, because I'll have every single person in my, I want to see mine. No, we don't do that. If the student applies to other, I'm sorry if I'm missing questions in the chat, just repost them. If a student applies to other schools early action, but others on their list only offer regular, will they be able to wait until they hear from? Yes, that's a great question. Will they wait to hear from regular? So typically you have to put down a deposit May 1st. That is when you first have to say, yes, I'm coming to your school. So by that time, even if you applied regular decision, you've heard from every single school. You've gotten the financial aid package. You've gotten scholarships, some of them anyway. So you have a much better sense of where you stand. And so you can shop around a little bit. May 1st is when you have to put down the deposit. Typically the deposit's $500 and it goes towards your tuition. I have had students in the past where they got waitlisted at their top choice school. And then so they put down a deposit, their second choice school. And then out of nowhere, their top choice dream school comes out of nowhere and says, oh, do you want a spot off the wait list? And they're willing to walk away from the deposit, the $500, to go to that next school. And so they can do that. They just forfeit the I had a kid call me. This happened 3 years ago. The day after graduation, like literally Sunday was graduation, Monday they're calling me. I'm like, you're not my student anymore. And she's like, you'll never believe what happened. And it was their top choice school. And she made that decision to walk away from the $500. Any idea if admissions officers are reading through high volume of essays that come in, or do they delegate that task out of interest? That's a great question. Colleges read the essays. They read the essays. How high do schools typically weight essays versus transcript versus recommendation? That's a great question. It depends on the school, obviously. The essay is the most personal part of a kid's application. I say to seniors all the time, the application, seniors that are on this call, if you've started filling out the application, you realize it's just a bunch of lists. Like, it's not hard to fill out. It's a pain in the neck, but it's not difficult. You just have to list a bunch of things. The essay is much more personal, right? So I do find like a good essay can really get the attention of an admissions counselor. They remember the good ones. They remember the good ones for years. And it's a way for you to be able to tell your story and get personal. Now, I will say, if you're applying to, McGann School of Basket Weaving, and you've got a 4.5 GPA and perfect SAT scores, and you're president of the class, and you've recently cured cancer, they're going to read the essay, but they're going to go quickly. They've already decided that they're going to. But where they'll really dig into it on all of the different for the ones that are close. You know what I mean? It's a target school for you. It's right there. They do what's known as a holistic review. They will read everything, and they'll pour over them, and they'll have debates and discussions about candidates. How do we know about the decisions via email or something else? Yeah, they email. Some have gotten creative. They'll send like little videos. They'll send text to kids if they put their phone numbers. But they're getting very excited to like, yay, you're in. And obviously the rejection notices are a little bit more muted. You will get something in the mail officially, an acceptance letter, usually in a bigger packet. But they want to notify kids right away, and so they'll send an email. And seniors, we want your acceptance letters. Bring them in. We'll put them on the wall. We want to tweet out and Instagram out your accomplishments. We want to celebrate your successes. And if people are done, you can jump off. But I'm happy to stay and answer questions as they are coming in. I don't see any others. I hope this was helpful. We want to take away the anxiety, the stress. Kids have been saying in our seminars, getting a lot out of it. I was overhearing Miss Chase's seminar today, getting a lot out of it and feeling better, a little bit more excited. So parents, this is kind of a seminar for you. This is what seniors, hopefully you've seen a lot of this stuff already. And you're like, yeah, I knew most of this if we've done our job right. But parents, you guys don't have access to this stuff as readily as the seniors do. We're going to continue senior seminars right through quarter 1. And we can keep going even after that. Good. Somebody had a really good question. On transcripts, we report the GPA and class decile. We do not report class rank. What rank is literally all of the seniors ranked by GPA. We don't have it. We don't want it. We don't deal with it. Okay. And colleges don't want it. We used to have about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, we had individual class rank. So somebody could be ranked 126th. Colleges don't care about that, because the difference between the kid ranked 126th and the 131st kid is like fractions of a fraction of a decimal point. That's like the difference between an 82 and an 84 in your Spanish 1 class from freshman year. It's not necessary for colleges to have that. They do want to get a sense of how you compare to your classmates. So what we report is decile. So imagine if we lined up everybody by GPA, the number 1 in the class to the last in the class, and then divided you into groups of 10 equal groups. There's 10 deciles, right? And so the top 10% of the kids are in the first decile. Second group is the second decile, third decile, fourth. And that just gives colleges a rough idea of, compared to your peers, where are you at Ashland High School? GPA is always weighted. Class rank, decile is weighted, GPA is weighted. Our classes are weighted. Now, I will tell you, CP1 and CP2 classes are weighted the exact same. An 85 in a CP1 class is worth exactly an 85 in CP2. They are not different. That's because many colleges don't treat CP1 and CP2. UMass Amherst specifically told me they do not differentiate between CP1 and CP2. They don't care. College prep is college prep is college prep. So they will treat, if students taking CP1 classes, gets an A, great. Honors is given a boost in GPA, and AP is given a boost in GPA. So all of our stuff is weighted because they're harder, as seniors will attest. We make you work for it. Any other questions? Okay. I can't reiterate enough. Counselors' doors are always open. Go see your school counselor. Come see me if you have questions, but parents, reach out to counselors. We're here to help you via email, phone call, however we're able to help. If you got a quick question, run it by us. I tell seniors all the time, if you're hearing things on the street that are starting to make you anxious, run it by me to see if it's real or not. You wouldn't believe the misinformation that goes around. So check with us. I'll give it to senior straight to tell me, and I'll tell you what the situation is. So thank you, everybody. And I hope this was helpful. And many thanks to the counseling department, Ms. McMahon, Ms. Chase, Ms. Hamilton for helping put this together. And seniors, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.